Welcome back to another thrilling episode of the Dungeons & Dragons experience. Our adventurers Donald, Harmonious, Scrappy Joe, and Thok are fresh off a meeting with Jordanius Peterson, the eccentric scholar of the Arcane Academy. They've uncovered troubling information. The goblins they've been fighting aren't just raiders, they're pawns in something far older and more insidious. With a mysterious amulet in their possession and clues pointing toward an ancient sealed ruin deep in the wilderness, the party must now prepare for the road ahead. But before they charge headfirst into danger, they've got one last chance to gather supplies, intel, and if Scrappy Joe has his way, probably some snacks. So, gentlemen, what's the plan?
All right, folks. Listen, we're going to do this the right way. No weak preparation, no wasted time. We need the best supplies, the strongest weapons, and the most luxurious bedrolls. Nobody prepares for a journey better than the Donald.
I agree that preparation is important, but let's focus on the essentials: rations, healing potions, and weapons we can actually use, like javelins and daggers, rather than just looking impressive.
Maybe some snacks. I mean, you never know when you'll need some jerky, you know? Keeps the energy up.
We need to make sure our gear isn't compromised. Half these merchants could be in on it, selling us supplies laced with tracking runes. The moment we step out of this city, bam! Ambush! I say we interrogate the shopkeepers first. Make him prove they're not part of the shadow conspiracy.
All right, so let's split this up. You can all handle different aspects of preparation. Donald, you seem focused on gear. Harmonious, you want to map out the route and logistics. Scrappy Joe, snacks are, well, an important part of morale. And Thok, you want to interrogate merchants.
Easy. The best investigation, trust me. Okay, I got a 7.
You confidently stride into the weapon shop and grab what looks like a finely crafted longsword, only to realize it's actually a decorative replica. The blacksmith coughs awkwardly. That one's just for display.
This is rigged. These merchants don't know quality. I need real weapons, not whatever this is.
We'll come back to you, Donald. Harmonious, roll survival to plan the most efficient route to the ruins.
All right, let's see. A solid 16.
Nice. You gather information from traders and travelers. You learn there's an old overgrown path that cuts through the wilderness and avoids major goblin patrols. It's slightly more dangerous due to rough terrain, but it should get you there faster.
Looks like we have two options: stick to the safer main roads and risk more goblin encounters, or take this abandoned trail and deal with tougher terrain.
I'd like to check out the food situation, you know, real thoroughly.
Scrappy Joe, roll persuasion to see if you can sweet-talk vendors into giving you some extra rations.
Oh, man. All right. Okay, that's an 11.
You manage to secure a few extra loaves of bread and a wheel of cheese. The vendor looks at you oddly as you mutter something about Scranton while pocketing an entire bundle of dried meat.
Hey, you never know when jerky's gonna save the day, man.
Thok, you wanted to investigate merchants? Roll insight.
Oh! I'm gonna expose these people! That's an 8.
You corner a random merchant selling bedrolls and demand to know who he really works for. The terrified man starts crying and says he just runs a small family business. You don't get much useful information other than the fact that he has a wife and 3 kids.
Classic cover story.
Donald, back at the blacksmith's forge, you demand to see the real weapons. Roll a persuasion check.
All right, I'm getting the best deal. Believe me. Boom. A 19. I knew I was the best.
This time, the blacksmith, persuaded by your persistence, pulls out a bundle of finely balanced javelins and a set of sturdy daggers. "These will serve you and your companions well," he mutters. You now have 4 javelins and 6 daggers, which you distribute among the party.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Tremendous deal. Tremendous weapons. Nobody does supply runs like me.
All right, so you've got your supplies, some good, some questionable. You've got a rough map of the route. What's the call? Safer main roads or the overgrown path?
I say we take the dangerous path. The best path. Nobody knows paths better than me.
It'll be tougher, but we avoid goblin patrols, and we don't want to deal with another ambush like last time.
Just making sure, but we do have enough food, right?
I say we move at night. Less visibility. If they're watching, they won't expect it.
I'm going back to that weapon shop. I refuse to accept a bad deal.
Donald, we don't have time for that now.
Look, I could have gotten more. The best deals. But fine. I won't go back. Just saying, missed opportunity.
All right, now that we've settled that, let's finalize the plan. Are you taking the overgrown path?
Sounds like the best move. We stay hidden, make good time.
Yeah, but this kind of reminds me of a time back in Scranton. See, we had this old shortcut through the woods, and my buddy Billy, now Billy, he wasn't the smartest guy, kind of like when you try to teach a dog algebra. But anyway, one day he says, Joe, we take this path, we'll be home in half the time. Turns out the path led straight through old man Henderson's backyard. Now Henderson, he was this big mean guy, always had a cigar, kind of smelled like gasoline. So we're sneaking through, and bam, floodlights go off, and Billy just drops to the ground and starts army crawling, like full on whispering, leave me behind, Joe, save yourself. I had to drag him out while Henderson's dog was barking up a storm. Didn't work though. We ran like hell.
Joe, what does this have to do with our plan?
Oh yeah. Sometimes shortcuts get you in more trouble than they're worth. But we're probably fine.
Good to know. All right, with the path chosen and supplies gathered, you all set out into the unknown. Night settles over the overgrown path as you make your way forward. The thick canopy overhead blocks out even the moonlight, leaving you reliant on dim lanterns and the occasional glow of fireflies. The air is heavy with the scent of damp earth and moss, and the road ahead twists through gnarled trees and jagged rocks. Every so often, the rustling of unseen creatures makes the atmosphere just a little more tense.
Stay sharp. If the goblins are working with something worse, they might have prepared defenses.
Typical. Weak enemies always try to slow down the best warriors. It won't work.
As if on cue, snap. A thin wire is tripped, and suddenly a large net swings up from the underbrush, catching one of you. Roll dexterity saves.
A 17. Of course. The best reflexes.
They've rigged this, I know it.
Oh boy, that's a 6.
A 14. Could be worse.
Scrappy Joe yelps as he's yanked into the air, arms and legs tangled in a net, swinging gently like a helpless fish. The rest of you remain on the ground, watching him dangle.
Tremendous. Sleepy Joe just flies into traps. Sad.
Hey, I wasn't sleeping. I was just, didn't see it coming, all right?
This was designed for him. Classic deep state goblin tactics. They knew he'd be the one to fall for it.
Let's just cut him down before he attracts company.
Ow, oh! You know, back in Scranton, we had this tree house, except nobody tied me up in it.
The party regroups, brushing off the moment and continuing deeper into the forest. However, as you round a bend, a series of crude wooden spikes suddenly block the path.
A barricade! This is a controlled ambush zone! We're being herded!
Classic weakling move. They know they can't take us head on, so they try tricks. Sad.
Before anyone can react, a deep voice growls from the darkness ahead. You should have turned back. A hulking hobgoblin steps forward, flanked by 2 more warriors in dark armor. Behind them, shadows shift as goblin archers take positions along the ridge.
Looks like they brought friends. Stay sharp.
Oh, great. Really should have brought more snacks.
You have something that does not belong to you. Give up the amulet, and I will grant you a swift death. Resist, and you will suffer.
This is it. The deep state goblin conspiracy in action. We fight!
The hobgoblin raises his blade, his warriors shifting into battle-ready stances. The goblin archers knock their arrows, waiting for the signal. The air is thick with tension as you prepare for battle.
Big mistake. Huge. Let's make this quick.
And with that, the battle begins. The battlefield is set. The hobgoblin warlord stands tall, gripping his massive greatsword. His 2 armored hobgoblin lieutenants stand flanking him, shields raised. 4 goblin archers perch on the ridge above, eyes glinting in the moonlight, arrows nocked. 2 more goblin skirmishers crouch in the brush, waiting for an opening. All right, roll for initiative. Let's see who goes first.
A 19. Beautiful. Nobody rolls like me.
Solid 15. Could be worse.
12! The dice are rigged. I should be first.
That's a 6. Oh boy. I might be in trouble.
The enemies roll. The warlord got a 17, the lieutenants 14, archers 11, and the skirmishers 9. Looks like the order is Donald, the warlord, Barack, the lieutenants, Alex, the archers, the skirmishers, and finally, Scrappy Joe. All right, Donald, you're up first. The battlefield is tense. What do?
Easy. I charge right at the warlord. Tremendous. Unstoppable. And I take a massive swing with my greatsword. A 23. Of course it hits.
Yeah, it hits. Roll damage.
That's 12 damage, Joe. I carve through his armor like it's made of paper. Probably cheap goblin manufacturing.
The warlord grunts but holds his ground. Now it's his turn. He grips his greatsword and swings back at you. That's a 21 to hit.
Fake dice. It hits fine.
You take 14 damage as his sword slashes across your chest. He snarls. You should have run.
Oh, we're not running. My turn. I lift my lute, strumming an ominous chord as I cast dissonant whispers on the warlord. He needs to make a wisdom save.
He rolls 11. That fails. Roll damage.
That's 9 psychic damage, and he must move away from me immediately.
The warlord winces, clutching his head. He stumbles back several feet, shaking off the magic's effects. Donald, since he moved away from you, you get an opportunity to attack.
Of course. I never miss. What? A 10? That's fake news.
Your great sword swings wide, missing as the warlord retreats. Now the lieutenants step in. One swings at Donald, the other at Thok. A 16 on Donald, 18 on Thok.
Ha! I've got 17 AC. Miss.
That 18 hits, doesn't it? Damn it!
Thok takes 8 slashing damage. The goblin grins as his sword cuts into your side.
I growl and say, that was your first mistake! My turn now. Reckless attack, 25 to hit.
That's a solid hit. Roll damage.
The 14 damage. I bring my great axe down with full force right on that lieutenant's shoulder.
The lieutenant staggers, blood spraying. He's barely holding on. The goblin archers now take aim. 2 fire at Donald, 2 at Scrappy Joe. That's a 20 and a 10 on Donald and a 16 and 7 on Joe.
Oh no.
The 10 is a joke, but the 20? Okay. Okay, it hits.
Donald takes 3 piercing damage. Joe, you're hit too, 6 damage.
Oh, that's not great. I'm up next, right?
Correct. Scrappy Joe, make your move.
I'm gonna duck behind Thok for cover, and then I throw my dagger at the closest archer. 19.
That's a hit. Roll damage.
8 damage.
The goblin archer gurgles and collapses. The dagger lodged in its throat. Nice kill. Donald, you're up. The battlefield is tense, with the warlord hanging back after your last exchange. What's your move?
Joe, I'm gonna use second wind to heal 9 hit points. Then I charge at the nearest lieutenant and swing my greatsword. 17. That hits, right?
Just barely. Roll damage.
That's 10 slashing damage. Boom, big hit.
The lieutenant grunts, staggering, but still standing. Now it's the warlord's turn. He grips his greatsword but doesn't advance. His eyes scan the battlefield. He shouts, hold the line, activating leadership, giving all allies within 30 feet plus 1d4 on attack rolls.
I raise my lute and cast vicious mockery on the warlord. He needs to make a wisdom save.
He rolls 11, that fails. Roll damage.
That's 4 psychic damage, and he has disadvantage on his next attack. You're leading them straight to failure.
The warlord winces but holds firm. Now the lieutenants move in. One swings at Donald, the other at Thok. 18 on Donald, 16 on Thok.
Oh, fine, that hits. How much?
You take 3 slashing damage, Donald. Thok, you take 6 damage as the lieutenant's sword slashes your side.
I knew they were after me. Reckless attack on the one that hit me. 24 to hit.
Solid hit. Roll damage.
That's 15 damage. I slam my great axe into him and he feels it.
The lieutenant staggers and collapses. The goblin archers fire. 1 at Donald, 1 at Thok, 1 at Joe. 14 on Donald, 13 on Thok, and 15 on Joe.
I dodged that one.
Missed me. Figures.
Joe, you take 4 piercing damage as an arrow strikes your shoulder. Now the goblin skirmishers rush in from the shadows, seizing their moment. One leaps at Donald, scimitar raised, while the other lunges at Thok with a jagged dagger. 15 on Donald, 17 on Thok.
Miss. Too slow.
The blade glances off your armor, Donald, but Thok isn't as lucky.
Oof! How bad?
You take 5 piercing damage as the dagger digs into your side.
All right, my turn. I duck behind Thok for cover and hurl a dagger at the nearest archer. 19.
That's a hit. Roll damage.
That's 5 damage total.
The goblin gasps as the dagger sticks in its shoulder. Back to the top of the order. Donald, you're up. The battlefield is shifting as the goblins hesitate, but the warlord remains firm, his eyes locked onto you. What's your move?
Easy. I take another tremendous swing at the wounded lieutenant. 16. That's a hit, right?
Just barely. Roll damage.
That's 11 slashing damage. I cut right through him, like slicing through bad trade deals.
The hobgoblin lieutenant stumbles, gasping before collapsing to the ground. His sword slips from his grip as he falls lifelessly into the dirt. The warlord grits his teeth, his tactical formation beginning to crumble. The warlord glares at you, Donald, and with a snarl, he finally advances, gripping his greatsword with both hands. You boast too much warrior. He swings. 22.
Fake news. Okay, that hits.
You take 5 slashing damage as his blade carves through your defenses. He doesn't stop. He brings his sword back for a second strike. 18.
No way. Ugh. That one hits too.
That's another 6 damage. The warlord smirks. Not so unstoppable now, are you?
This is getting ugly. I strum my lute and cast dissonant whispers on the warlord. He needs to make a wisdom saving throw.
The warlord rolls 17. He resists the effect. He grimaces but does not back away.
That's it. I rage. I let out a primal roar and charge the nearest goblin. Reckless attack. 19. That's 16 damage.
You bring your great axe down in a fury, cutting the goblin clean in 2. The battlefield erupts in chaos. The remaining goblin archers panic. They aim one at Donald, one at Thok, one at Joe. 16 on Donald, 12 on Thok, 14 on Joe.
Block. My armor is too strong for these amateurs.
Miss me.
Joe, you take 4 piercing damage as an arrow clips your leg.
Ow. I think I'm still standing. Maybe. Probably.
Now, the last remaining skirmisher lunges at Thok. 13.
Ha! Not good enough. I knocked the little rat away with my elbow.
Joe, you're up. The battlefield is chaotic. What do you do?
Okay. I throw a dagger at the last archer I just attacked. 18.
That's a hit. Roll damage.
That's 3 damage total.
Your dagger hits the goblin and he drops to the ground. The battlefield is littered with fallen enemies, and the warlord stands breathing heavily, his grip tight on his greatsword. The wounded goblin beside him shakes, barely holding on to its scimitar. Donald, you're up. What's your move?
It's time to finish this. I take a deep breath and unleash my breath weapon. A 15-foot cone of fire straight at the warlord and the last goblin. They need to make dexterity saving throws.
The warlord rolls. 14. He barely passes. The goblin rolls. 7. That's a failure.
The goblin gets incinerated. No chance. The warlord, he still takes half damage. That's 12 fire damage. So he takes 6.
The goblin lets out a final screech before turning to ash, but the warlord powers through, his armor singed but his stance unshaken. He glares at you, Donald, his eyes burning with fury. The warlord lunges forward. He swings his greatsword twice at Donald. 12 and 19.
Oh no.
First attack misses. The second hit, 7 damage. Donald, you're down.
We're not losing him. I sprint over and cast Cure Wounds. Donald, you regain 11 hit points.
Donald gasps back to consciousness, bloodied but alive. Meanwhile, Thok, you're up.
I let out a primal roar. I throw a javelin at one of the goblin archers. 16.
Roll damage.
That's 9 damage.
That goblin goes down. Joe, it's your turn.
All right. Here we go. I use cunning action to double my movement speed. I climb to the last goblin archer and go for the kidney. 16.
Roll damage.
That's 10 damage.
Your short sword digs deep and the goblin screams and drops to the ground. The warlord glares at all of you, blood pouring from his wounds. He spits onto the ground, gripping his sword tightly. This is not over. His body trembles, but he still won't fall.
Then I finish it. Oh, I got this. 23. That's a perfect hit.
That hits.
That's 12 damage. He can't still be standing after that.
Now, how do you want to do this?
I step forward, towering over him, my greatsword in hand. I look him in the eyes. He knows what's coming. I raise my sword and say, "You should have picked the right side." Then, boom, I bring it down with tremendous force.
Your blade cleaves through him, his body shuddering as the final blow lands. The warlord gasps, his lips curling into a smirk. You fight well, then with a final breath he collapses forward, dead.
Wow, Don. I didn't know you could breathe fire.
Maybe we should have tried to talk to him. Could have had information.
Talk? No way. He was a deep state puppet, Harmonious. Couldn't trust a word, he said.
Spare him? Are you kidding? This was a tremendous victory. Nobody fights like me. Nobody wins like me.
Yeah, you also almost died there.
Fake news, Joe. I was in complete control the entire time.
Let's just loot the body and get out of here before more of them show up.
As you take a moment to catch your breath, the battlefield finally falls silent. The warlord lies at your feet, his greatsword resting beside him, but something catches your eye on his belt. A small iron-bound scroll case dangles from a leather strap. The night air is still. You've won.
Of course we won. We had me. Now what's this? A treasure for the greatest warrior?
You open the case, revealing a tattered map marked with strange symbols. The ink is smudged, but the outlines of a ruined structure can be made out. It looks old, ancient, even. The map appears to point to the very ruins you're all heading to.
I knew it. This proves something big is out there. We need to follow this immediately.
Yeah. Someone get me a drink. I think I pulled something.
We should burn the body. Make sure nothing weird happens. I've seen things, man.
Alex, we're not burning the body. Let's just move on.
And with that, the battle is over. Victory is yours, but the road ahead is still uncertain. The fight may be done, but something tells you this was just the beginning. All right, guys, after that brutal fight, you all level up to level 3. This is a big one. Most of you get to pick a subclass. Let's hear what you've got.
Absolutely huge level up for me. I take the champion subclass. Now I crit on a 19 or 20. That means even more tremendous damage. My enemies, they don't stand a chance.
I'm going College of Lore for my bard. That means more skills, more spells, and cutting words, which lets me mess with enemies' attacks and ability checks. Honestly, I'm just getting better at everything.
Yeah, so I'm going Swashbuckler. Makes me way faster in combat, lets me hit and run better, and I get to be fancy about it. Also, I can fight one-on-one without needing advantage. Pretty slick.
I take Path of the Berserker. You thought I was mad before? Now I can go into a frenzy, which means I can attack again as a bonus action while raging. Pure, unstoppable destruction.
Dude, this is insane. You guys are about to be monsters in combat. More attacks, better abilities, and actual strategy now. And the best part, your next stop, Ancient Ruins. I love that stuff.
You know those ruins are hiding something. Lost knowledge suppressed by the elite. Maybe even an ancient weapon they don't want us to find.
Or, just some crumbling walls and a few interesting carvings. Let's not jump to conclusions.
Back in Scranton, we had an old train tunnel. Some guy swore it was haunted. One time we dared my buddy to go in alone. He swears something, whispered his name. Turns out it was just a guy trying to sell him a used car in the dark.
See? That's exactly what I'm talking about, Joe. Cover-ups. What was that guy really hiding?
Alex, he was probably just selling a car.
All right. This is exactly why I love this game. You guys are nuts. Next time we're diving into the ruins, get ready, because whatever's inside, it's been waiting a long time.
All right, folks, listen. This whole adventure thing, it's a lot like back in Scranton. Yeah, we had this old tunnel near the train yard. Me and the fellas, we used to sneak in there with flashlights looking for treasure. But one time, my buddy Ricky, he swore he saw something moving in the dark. Could have been a rat. Could have been something else. Point is, wait, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Listen, these guys, they're telling you gotta subscribe. And they're right. I mean, we got goblins, we got magic amulets, we got big scary monsters probably. And we're going into some creepy ruins next. And let me tell you, I got a bad feeling about this. So don't be like Ricky. Don't be the guy who gets lost in the dark. Hit that subscribe button to Brayton's YouTube channel. You don't want to miss what's next, because whatever's down in that ruin, it ain't gonna wait for you. Think I left my snacks back at the shop. I hope they don't charge me twice.